delegates, uh, speakers, uh, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and good afternoon to all of you. It's always a privilege to be the part of such meetings where we are redefining the boundaries, and for such invitations where we have some kind of regional consultations on evolving the nature of sustainable food systems. I thank FAO to invite me to be the part of this meeting. So thanks to FAO. And definitely, at the moment, I'm sitting in India, and I mean, before that, I was in Southeast Asia, so I can correlate the kind of problems we have been witnessing. But I'm very much, I mean, hopeful because now we have started thinking about, transitioning from food security to sustainable food system. So that's self a good progress in that particular directions where we can think about integrating, a lot of actors, lot of, stakeholders in this process to define what is sustainable, safe, and inclusive food system and how it should look like for South Asia. So I will be sharing my screen. Uh, can everybody can see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So basically, when I have to define, I mean, because I was supposed and I'm supposed to talk about the status and challenges of, I mean, to have a sustainable, safe and inclusive food system for South Asia, and it was very difficult for me to, to define the status and the challenges because I have been witnessing a lot of, the changing, the dynamics at all level. But just keeping it in a very, very basic, the understanding how it does it look like, I mean, for all of us as a, I mean, like non-technical person in this particular, I mean, domain, I see that, I mean, almost we are a home of 7.8 billion people, and now we are seen as a food surplus country, which I don't know how we should be saying that because I see in a very narrow sense because it's a cereal surplus region, not a food surplus, because still we have a lot of issue in terms of addressing the nutrition, and we are experiencing the triple burden in terms of addressing the undernutrition, overnutrition, and micronutrient deficiency. So definitely we are cereal surplus region, but not food surplus or nutrition secure region. 65% live in rural area and more than 50% of them relying their livelihood on agriculture, and they are the people who are food insecure. So currently, if you see the global scenario, almost 3 times more food we are producing, but still, we have an issue of food insecurity, malnutrition, poverty, and, hunger and all. So, I mean, definitely the way we are producing is not enough, and which has been highlighted by all distinguished speakers, the key speakers, that still we need to address the poverty, food insecurity, the smallholder issues and all. So definitely the path we have taken is not enough. And what we see that because of this, this insecurity, the peoples are becoming more vulnerable. Either it's a COVID pandemic or climate change, issues. They all are making them more vulnerable. Out migration has become a culture, not for South Asia, but Southeast Asia, whole Asia, in fact. And over exploitation of natural resources we are witnessing everywhere because they need to survive and they are exploiting, the natural resources. The third point, the major status I see, the way we produce food completely, we are just extracting the finite resources. Either it's the oil or it's, I mean, like, the phosphate or potassium or, the fossil fuel. Everything, is completely dependent on finite resources. And we are extracting, I mean, not thinking about what we are extracting or we should, I mean, give back to, to our natural resources. That is not the part of our culture. So every year we are, we are going towards degradation of 12 million hectares of land everywhere. And that's not only just degrading, but we are also diminishing natural resources. Two-thirds forest area we have, lost. And we have a stiff competition for water. And we are witnessing agrochemical pollution everywhere. I'm sitting in Punjab, and in Punjab, every alternate home, if you go there, they have some issue related with the agrochemical pollutions, something related to their health hazards everywhere. And even if you go anywhere, I mean, they offer a glass of water, you would be thinking twice before drinking, because the water is completely contaminated, the air pollution is there, everywhere is there. So that kind of thing we have been witnessing now. It's become more and more visible now. And of course, I mean, if you see the graph of, the way the growth process has been defined, I mean, of course, the per capita income, greater urbanization rate, literacy rate, population growth, and poverty reductions, the way things have been defined, we have achieved, but they are highly, highly inequitable. So somewhere we need to think, I mean, whether, this is the way we have to define, or we need to go to the next step. So, if I take you to the little bit more international scenario and also the regional scenario, the South Asia, we have been witnessing water, soil, coal, energy, inequality, insecurity, and governance crisis, and many more. I mean, I just highlighted a couple of things which was highlighted during and has been highlighted during this, COVID pandemic era, but we have many more issues. We have extreme water crisis. Almost 85% water goes to agriculture and mostly to cultivation of paddy. Then we have a issue with the global price of fertilizer is continuing to rise, and also the subsidy is rising. A sharp increase we have seen in the international price of coal, but at the same time, I see there is a subsidy for the free electricity to support the agriculture, and also the exploitation of groundwater everywhere. We have been witnessing degraded soil. I mean, now the soil organic matter is on an average 0.2 to 0.5%, but still I don't see any kind of, progress toward, the regenerative agriculture or agriculture that nurture the nature. I don't see that kind of course, there is a lot of encouragement, but there is a lot of disconnect in terms of having, the policy in place and the implementations issues. So I see a lot of disconnect at the moment. We have lost 90% of biodiversity hotspot, and of course we have witnessed growth. But if you see the kind of sharing of those growth, only 1% population earned 21% of total income. What we have witnessed in the last 10 years. So that kind of inequality we have seen. I mean everywhere. Now, what I see that there is a lot of thrust on food production, but we are not giving, the thrust on how we can reduce food loss and waste. Now, 1/3 food is lost in Asia, and if it is come to South Asia, almost 12 to 13% is lost in cereal, and more in fruits and vegetables. We don't have enough data, but because the fruits and vegetables are perishable, and we don't have value addition or processing at the moment the way it should be, so definitely there is a more loss. But nobody is taking care. There is no intervention at the moment that can be, significantly affect those kind of, the equations in terms of visualizing the sustainable food system. What I see that for today, I mean, for every dollar what we spend on food, society is paying $2 in health, environmental, and economic costs. And these are hidden costs, which is not taken into consideration when we divide cost of cultivation for for any crop. So those things need to be integrated, and this is not the culture at the moment. This is not something, on the table for discussions. So definitely agri-food system, if you see, is the nexus of food security, nutritional health, viable ecosystem, climate change, and rural prosperity. The all dignitary signatory have already, the key speakers have already highlighted, the family farmer, and, the smallholder farmers are in the center. But are we connecting those issues with the rural prosperity? That still we need to think. Often I see in terms of the policy or even intervention actions, I see that most of the time while we prioritize problem, we just treat the symptoms. We never talk about the core of the problem. So that's another issue that we have been witnessing here. Now, challenges, if I see, almost, of course, population is increasing in this part of the region, and by 2030, we will be contributing 26.2% share of world population, which is almost similar to what we have at the moment, but nearly half will be young. World largest consumer base we have, and it is becoming more richer and urbanized. Definitely fruits, vegetable, meat, oil demand will increase, but whether this increase will be met by, through different government policies or, actions, it is still questionable, because subsidies are, and the existing support system basically incentivize the cereal productions only in most of the part of this region. Air pollution, antibiotic resistance, water contamination, pesticide exposures from food production and mismanaged byproducts. These are the, the story that you can see everywhere. Now, the way things are changing, the structure is changing, the migration is becoming, the story for all the reason. And most of the, the consumer will be based, or they will be urban based. So definitely 80% food will be expected, the consumer we will have in the urban area. But whether we are addressing, their concerns, bringing, connecting, those urban demand with the prosperity of smallholder farmers, or we have any kind of connections to address the issues? I don't think so. So still, I mean, those kind of, the central story where the food demand will be more, it is missing at the moment. These are the challenges at the moment I see in this region. When we talk about the focus is always on increasing food productions as a mean to increasing economic growth. Or sometime when we have to talk about sustainable consumption, I see that we just focus on improving health and productivity. Even for health, we have a very narrow definitions. And sometimes when we define all these things, we do not evaluate the intersectionality of these domains and their spillover on the economics, ecological, or health system. So what I see is in most of the time, whenever we see as a desired outcome, it is completely based on economics. We have forgotten to integrate the ecology. The ecology and economics have to go together, but I don't see this culture at the moment. Existence of policies, whatever policy we have at the moment, especially that just increase the productivity in agriculture at the expense of environment, and basically just to increase economic growth while also increasing regional equality. So definitely we have, now we are exporting crops. We are number 1 and 2 producer for all of the crops. But if you see, and we are also trading, but whether we are taking care of the equality in terms of governance, in terms of distributions, in terms of, livelihood generation, this is not the case. So even that kind of policies are hurting small farmers. So definitely, indeed, we have a top-down policies. And even for the trade policy, I don't see that the people or the industries are taking into account the zero hunger or climate actions. And because everything, whatever we do, has some spillover in the overall issues that we want to, that can affect this SDG goal in terms of achieving by 2030. So those
Dr.
things
Mishra, Dr. Mishra, can you wrap up in 1 minute? Thank you.
Yeah. So while we have progressed, in terms of nutrition, but still, it's food diversity, emphasis on food diversity is missing. Focus on staple food is not aligned to develop market for non-staple food, like, for fruits, vegetables. There is a lot of price uncertainty. Promoting small farm commercialization is not yet given a central agenda at the moment. I'm thankful that regional people like, FAO, AFA, and IFAD is thinking, but it should be visible in terms of actions and implementation in all South Asian countries. Climate change and vulnerability is there, and feminization is another, is the kind of transitions taking place, and women are taking up driver's seat, but they have inequality in terms of accessing resources on land and all. So definitely, there's a lot of issue we have now. How we should be defining food system for South Asia? It's a kind of, debate at the moment, but I just took one definition where, because at the moment still we are thinking about addressing the food security, nutrition, and poverty reductions, and then bringing other stakeholders together. Either it's it's a food value chain, or the social actors, or industry, the market, the policies, and definitely the natural resources. But what I feel that at the moment when we are discussing this, the approach, we need to have a system thinking in our approach, and we should be doing some kind of analysis in terms of defining and understanding the system actors, system characteristics, and system behaviors. When we have those kind of discussions, this kind of churning, then we will be able to know what will be the desired food, what will be the desired direction for food system transformation in South Asia. But at the moment, I see that, as an individual, we can always give a healing touch to our nature, to the plant, to the human, and definitely for the well-being of each and every individual. Yeah, thanks.